Welcome learners to Operating System Lecture Session 1. The objective of this lecture session is to help learners know about components of computer system and describe the organization of computers. Computer system comprises of four main components: the hardware, operating system, application program, and the user. Hardware refers to the basic computing resources, that is, the processor, memory unit, and the I/O devices. Internal hardware components starting with the processor, motherboard, RAM, input-output, and storage units are highlighted here. The next component of the computer system is the operating system. Operating system is a software that controls and coordinates the use of hardware among various applications and users. On the right corner of the screen, popular operating systems are listed: Mac, Windows, Android, iOS, Linux, etc. Next is the application program. Application program is a software that performs a specific function for a user. It includes office suites, graphics software, web browser, database management programs, communication platforms, etc. And finally, the user of the machine. Users can be people, machines, and other computers also. The layered organization of components of the computer system is pictorially represented here. As seen, hardware takes the bottommost layer of the computer system. The second layer is the operating system that connects or interacts with the layer above, which is the system and the application programs. So whenever the user is accessing the system by means of the system and the application programs, it is the operating system which is going to interact with the hardware and perform the task for the user. So as seen here, the topmost is the user layer. We can see from this picture that the user one is trying to convert his high-level program into machine-level language with the help of the compiler. Compiler, with the help of the operating system, interacts with the hardware layer and perform the task. Similarly, the other user is using assembler, text editor, database system, and so on. From this layered organization, it is understood that the operating system is a program that manages the computer hardware. It provides a basis for the application and system programs. Operating system acts as an interface between the user and the hardware. It provides an environment for the programs to run. Operating system is thus acting as a resource allocator. It is managing all the resources of the computer system. And when there is a conflict in accessing the resources, system resources by the users, n number of users will be accessing at a time. Now, in case if there are conflicts between the resources access, in that case, it is the operating system which is going to ensure that the fair and efficient resource allocation are being made. Operating system is also acting as a control program too. It is the operating system which controls the execution of programs to prevent errors and improper use of the computer. A general purpose computer system consists of one or more CPU, I/O devices, and memory unit. Looking at this figure, we can identify that each I/O device has a device controller. For storage disk, we have the disk controller. The USB based devices, mouse, keyboard, printer, they are all connected to the USB controller. So the USB based I/O devices are being connected to the system with the help of a USB controller. Monitor with the help of the graphics controller or a graphics adapter. Device controller are in charge of a specific device. The disk controller is in charge of the disk. The USB controller in charge of mouse, keyboard, and printer. The graphics controller in charge of the monitor. Now these device controller also has a local buffer with them. So any intermediate operations are performed that will be resided in the local buffer of the devices. the processor, device controllers are all connected through a common bus. And this communication bus or the common bus will help the CPU and the I/O devices to access the memory unit of the system. I/O devices and CPU can operate concurrently. They'll execute in a same time. CPU can move data from the main memory to the local buffer. CPU can also move data to the main memory from the local buffer of the devices. So the movement of data from the main memory to the local buffer of the devices and from the local devices to the main memory will be governed by the CPU, Central Processing Unit. And whenever the operation is finished, the device controller will inform the CPU by causing an interrupt. Now, let us understand how the system starts its operation. For a computer to start running, for instance, when it is powered up, that is when we turn on our systems, it needs to have an initial program to run. And that initial program is nothing but the bootstrap program. I re-insist the statement, whenever we turn on our machine, the initial program which is going to run is nothing but the bootstrap program. And what is going to happen during the boot process? Let us go further. The booting is a process which is involving two steps in it. First, it is ensuring that the hardware of the system is intact. It is in the proper working condition. And secondly, it is going to load the operating system for the user. So, two operations are taking place. The first step is ensuring that the hardware is ready for its operation, intactness of the hardware components. And in the second stage, it is going to ensure that the operating system is loaded. Now we will go in detail how this operating system is getting loaded. So the boot sequence is governed by BIOS ROM. BIOS is nothing but basic input-output system. It is built into the PC. The BIOS software is stored on a ROM chip on the motherboard. And it is this code which is going to run first when the power is turned on. And it is going to identify the system devices for the user. BIOS will perform a post. Post is nothing but power on self-test. Now, what is this post? It is the first process that a computer undergoes when booting. Boot test will check whether the computer is in its proper working condition. So, if the system clears this post test, it is ensuring that the hardware components are working properly. And if there is an error, if there is a problem with any of the units of the computer, that is, there is a problem in processor, motherboard, ROM, memory unit or video card, whatever it is, now the post test will get failed. In that case, the boot process will not be successful. The system is not ready for usage. And in case if the hardware is in proper working condition, all the components of the computer is intact, they are ready for the operation, in that case, the post test will be successful. So what will happen if the system clears the post test during the boot process? We'll explore further. Now, once a post is successful, the BIOS will load the MBR. MBR is nothing but master boot record. The first 512 bytes of the hard drive will contain this master boot record. MBR has a boot code and a partition table. Now, what is the role of this boot code and the partition table? This partition table will help the system to identify the file system. And this boot code will transfer the control to the operating system boot sector. Once the bootstrap program locates the operating system kernel, the kernel will get loaded into the system, and the system is now with the kernel of the operating system. Once the kernel is loaded, it will start its operation. Now it will start offering the services to the system and the user. I repeat, once a bootstrap program is located, now the operating system kernel will get loaded into the system's memory. Once the kernel is loaded, it will start its execution, and immediately it will start providing services to the system as well as to the user of the machine. Now some services are provided outside the kernel also by the system programs that are loaded into the memory at boot time to become a system process or system daemons. So from this we can understand that some of the services are provided by the kernel of the operating system, and certain services which is residing outside the kernel and they are as system programs, they are also known as system daemons. Once the boot process is over, the system will wait for some instruction or event to occur. The occurrence of an event is signaled by an interrupt. The interrupt can be either from the hardware or a software. Interrupts are an important part of the computer architecture. Each computer design has its own interrupt mechanism. The interrupt must transfer control to the appropriate interrupt service routine. Now interrupts are of two categories. In some cases hardware will trigger the interrupt, and in some cases the software will trigger. Hardware may trigger an interrupt any time by sending a signal to the CPU through the system bus. Software may trigger an interrupt by executing a special operation called as a system call. When a CPU is interrupted, it will transfer the control to the appropriate interrupt service routine. So in a normal condition, the central processing unit will continue its operation, and if there is a need for the IO, when there is a need for the IO request is being made by the system, now CPU will halt its operation and it will transfer the control to the IO unit. Once the IO does its operation, when the IO operation is complete, the control will get transferred back to the CPU. So again, when CPU continue its process, and again if there is a need for the IO operation, the control will again transfer back to the IO device. The IO request will now be satisfied. The IO interrupt service routine will be executing its task. Once the IO transfer is over, the control will get transferred back to the CPU. CPU will start its operation once again. So from this lecture session, the basic operation and organization of the computer system is briefed to the viewers. Thank you. Happy learning.